Welcome, and we're back live at the gallery, Fibonacci Live, here with Alchemist, Lana,
Hey.
Moody, Wordsmith, the cast, the crew, here with Z, Terrence, Ruben,
Yes.
our brand ambassadors, Michelle, Kels, Jay, who Jay just left the building, also our artists, Prolific Lee, also affiliates that work with us, the different artists in the gallery that we have. We have Ellis, is our saxophonist, that also interacts with us. We have Peyton, Peyton Rudy, super funny. Look him up. We got a vid coming with him, by the way. But welcome to the gallery. Welcome to Fibonacci Live, and we're here to discuss some very, very important topics. But mostly, we're also here to throw our expressions out, kind of come off the cuff. And Wordsmith, he always brings us in. Sometimes I shoot off with the mouth too early, and I bring in our topic by accident. But today I will not, and we are starting a new wave. And we're glad to have you guys back here at the gallery. Check us out at thegallerydearte.com. Check us out at FibonacciRadio.com on our website. Check out the episodes. And Wordsmith, talk to us, man.
Well said. Well said. Well, great job kicking off the show, Alchemist.
Thank you, man. Got to get sharp here. It's rough on this deck. You're on the upper deck, man. I'm on the lower deck, man.
I get to oversee.
Yeah, it's
everything.
It's serious, man, around here.
First and foremost, I want everybody that's watching to make sure you like and subscribe.
Yes, please do.
We want to get you all in here too. You know what I'm saying? We want you all to come in here and sit and watch us via live studio audience. So you can do that. You know, hit us up at thegallerydearte.com. But we want you all to come in and get this experience, interactive experience, because it's nothing like being in person. So definitely make sure you all do that. So welcome back to everyone. The word of the week this week is mentality. Now, mentality is a noun, and the definition of mentality is the characteristic attitude of mind or way of thinking of a person or a group. Now, the topic of the week would be suburbs versus city. We will break that down this week.
So, I mean, I want to start with Moody. Yep, we jumping it off, Moody. We jumping it off with you. We're not playing no games here. Lana, get on her top because she got a lot to say. She got a lot inside. She got a lot inside of there behind those glasses, y'all. Don't be fooled by Moody. She's super sharp, and she's clever, and she's witty. So we want to find out, jumping it off, first of all, what's your opinion about the topic? We're not trying to get too, we're not going to dig in too deep with you, but what's your opinion about the topic?
I think that there's definitely a difference between the two styles of living and the different habitats just generally are different. And I feel like it definitely affects one's mentality. But also, I also think that like just your environment in general kind of can affect your mentality. And so that's kind of where I go with it. So it's definitely different. And
so you really talk about she basically talked about the difference.
Literally. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like Lana, what do you like?
So the first thing that I instantly thought about when it pertains to like hip hop music, right? So I feel like a lot of times, a lot of the fans of these artists that are talking about, when I say a city mentality, just grew up a certain way, right? It's a lot of suburbs kids who will probably never experience this life, and they drive around in their cars listening to this music thinking that they got, the same type, they cut from the same cloth. So when I think of that, like, I instantly go to like that example.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that, because what we're tying in today is we're going to tie in the influential power that one has over the other. We're talking about the pros being too suburban, the pros of being very city, and then the cons of being too suburban and the cons of being too city. So we're gonna really have a smooth episode. We're gonna steamroll through this episode. It's a powerful episode. I'm really excited, and I'm gonna start framing out this episode with Lana. I'm gonna piggyback on what you said, Lana, is that the influence that the cultures have on one another. That's one aspect of it. The second, as far as maybe hip hop, as far as maybe social levels, as far as how we're dressing or influencing how we socialize with one another. But I do want to come with an adverse effect of it later on in the second part of the show.
Okay.
I want to come on how the suburban culture and community inspired and evolved a person or some people, some individuals as myself. How when you come with just a simple city mentality, and then you come to the suburbs and you get those tools that you really need in order to really be a balanced person, a whole person. So I do want to start with the influence that it has and giving the misconception that kids have and people have with the insecurity. I want to start with insecurity. I want to start with the fact that a lot of people want to come with a city or a ghetto or a hood appeal because that community is respected for its critical thinking. That community is respected for being able to have a certain level of perseverance. Now, the adverse of that is trauma. The adverse of that is being able to miss a childhood experience.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of suburban individuals really envy the fact that there's some things that they can't get. Like you can't get that hunger that a city kid that's impoverished has. Because when I say city, we're talking about the unfortunates. We're talking about the city mentality of the struggle.
Yeah.
Not just maybe a urban appeal. We're just talking about the struggle to affect. And when you have those individuals that have this certain instincts, those instincts are really admired. When you go to other countries, and they think of like black people, for instance, or they think of any culture that's coming from like a hood area, they look on TV, they see a Latin culture that's grimy or got a certain what is it called? It's something 13s, MS-13.
MS-13,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, when you got that stuff going on, those people are going to be respected because they're coming from a struggle. So I think that the suburban individuals are not really allowed or don't have the opportunity to get that reverence. You know what I'm saying? To get that certain level of appreciation or respect. So it really causes a delusion, like you said. It causes a misconception that people may have on who they are and who they think they are. And I think that the topic that I'm glad we have this topic because it really goes down to a social, like a psychological level. It goes down to the fact that a lot of these kids are in situations that are very dysfunctional.
Yeah.
To have these type of, and to come to the suburbs and people highlight these dysfunctions, these sufferings. To me, that's what I experienced. When you come to the suburbs and we're going to highlight that your city or you're on edge or you're aggressive, we're gonna look at that like, oh, that's definitely a plus. But why am I aggressive? I'm aggressive because I might ain't never seen my mom before.
I think the
you know what I'm saying?
I think the edge or the attraction to it is it's just different, right? So when you do grow up in the suburbs and when you live in the suburbs, you notice there are a lot of rules. Like it's a form of etiquette that really isn't in the city. You know what I'm saying? Like when you live in those type of neighborhoods where everybody's figuring it out, you can have two people outside your house at 2:00 in the morning arguing. Or drunk, or like you hear gunshots, you hear like this is something that you're used to. You're used to being able to do what you want, you're used to being able to move how you want to move. So when you go to the city, move to the suburbs or around people who have that type of mentality, there's an etiquette that is taught that they're raised with. So when you have someone coming out there, it's like I'm breaking the rules, but I'm subconsciously breaking the rules because I wasn't taught to do these things. So because I'm stepping outside of what your normal is, I'm attractive. Because I have the courage or the balls to do what low-key all these little kids want to do at that rebellious age. So like I always looked at it like, but what people don't realize is when you grow up in a city mentality and you live in the suburbs, there's such a learning curve from the school systems, from etiquette, from behavioral standpoints so it's like you're infatuated with the shit I'm trying to change because I didn't know no better. And the difference is you know better and you have a choice to be either one. I just know how to be one.
Yeah. Like, I think one of the things about the mentality part is when you're in those positions in the city, when you're in those positions in the suburbs, for instance, kids and children in the suburbs, they have a certain sense of stress. That stress is, well, they have to succeed. Why do you have to succeed? Because you got all the perks, you got all the privileges, you got all the opportunity.
No excuses.
So there's no excuses.
No
You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of the suburban, it's easy sometimes to cop out and then just slide on the other end and just say, well, you know what? This is my personality now. I think a lot of individuals that kind of give up choose to just slide into that city category, but they still never really fit the description because they never really had that wear and tear on a traumatized level, or never had that level of perseverance that they had to endure. It's like a choice. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, choosing to select a way.
Yeah.
Most of the people that comes out of a struggle in the city atmosphere that's coming from a more disadvantaged communities, there's no choices. You know what I mean? There's no choices.
You're figuring
You
it
know
out.
what I'm saying, Moody? Like, there's no like real opportunity to make a decision on, well, you know what, today I want to hang with this friend. No, I want to hang with that friend. You know, no, in the community that you're in, you have to work with what you have, and a lot of those individuals in these communities are struggling to survive. In the suburban community, you have an opportunity to express yourself more, and that's the one thing I found out about a lot of suburban individuals is that they're allowed to express themselves. Like they have a lot of jokes that comedians say. You know how the kids be like, "Oh, fuck you, mom," blah 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 blah. You know, you can talk like that in the burbs, but you know, in the hood or in a more city or urbanized communities in that fashion with that mentality, you're not allowed to just express yourself the way you want to. And I think that it affects us two different ways. You know, when you can't express yourself, it can affect you. When you don't have structure and you're expressing yourself too much, it can affect you in both ways. There's a balance, and I believe that a lot of the people that we look at, we see what their story on how they came up.
Right.
Everybody's story is about coming from some difficult situation, some strife, and that's what always goes to the rappers. Well, you know, he cold because he did 4 years in jail. So because he did 4 years in jail, he's established this critical thinking. He's established this perseverance. He's established this nature about himself. Well, that's what we're intrigued with. That's what we're enthralled with. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely feel like in both environments, like I said earlier, you're just a product of your environment. And I feel like with like urban and city environment, you definitely have to persevere more. And like I don't in the suburbs, personally for me, like I didn't have to worry about certain things that like I know people from the city had to worry about. Or like when I would go to my friend's house.
You told me a story before, like you with your friends, and you know, it was like some crazy activity happening. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like every time you go to the city, there's always a chance of something popping off when you go to the city of Chicago. When we say the city, we're talking about the city of Chicago. We're right outside the city of Chicago here, Fibonacci Live at the gallery, but we go to Chicago downtown a lot. And Moody was just telling me over the years, there's times when you went down there, and it's almost like a box of chocolate sometimes, like anything can jump off, like the behavior, the personality, so you kind of, you got to watch yourself more.
I mean, like, yeah, like I was saying, you just have to worry about certain things.
Yeah.
Like when you're walking in the suburbs, you don't really have to, and like I think that anything can happen anywhere, but when you're in the suburbs, you don't really have to be concerned of like, you know, looking back, and if you're living in a place full of kids and families and, you know, a community that's tight, that knows people, that have regulars at their restaurants and things like that, you know, it's a lot different than being in the city and having to make sure you look behind yourself and make sure that you're straight, pretty much.
There's such a level of comfortability in the suburbs, but like I've been in both places, right? But like I've had some weird ass shit happen to me in the suburbs that would never happen to me in the city. Like, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah, that's true.
But because it's a different type of comfortability in the city, you're around. Like, first off, there's even the way that you're moving when you're walking, let's say downtown Chicago. you have to be conscious because on this street I'm walking with at least 50 people I don't know.
Head on a swivel.
You know what I'm saying? Like that I don't know. So now I have to pay attention. You have these lights. It's just constant movement. So it forces you to like be on your toes because you have to just to get to where you need to go. But when you in the suburbs, it's slow. So I feel like that mentality, things are nice and easy. Well, when you grow up with that, then these nice and easy, this level of comfortability, sometimes a sense of entitlement, sometimes, lack of, because things are just so.
Things are slow. You don't have to get up at 6 a.m.
You don't have to get up.
Or 7 a.m. and go talk to your family, get 14 calls from different family members. Make sure, I got to go do this. I got to talk to this person at 12. Oh, we got to catch the train if we want to go do this. Like, if you want to plan something for like 5 p.m., you have to get up at 5 a.m. It's like,
Just to get it done.
But one thing I did want to mention too is like the product of like not just being the product of your environment and how it affects you that way, but I think that in the way that like for example the suburbs affect people is just as harmful, but in a completely different way.
Totally
in a completely different aspect, more in like how you were kind of saying like psychological, sociological aspect. I would say it definitely being in the suburbs because things are slower, because you have like this mask of privilege, to not have to look back, this privilege to not have to get up at a certain time and it's busy around you, so you may not catch a bus, you can drive down the street.
I also feel like there's always this sense of keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like everybody wants to act like they're doing so well. And it's like, because a lot of times like I look like I'm a 48 hours true crime kind of girl, but if you think about it and they talk about, because this is the first thing, we never thought it would happen here. But like the reality is people are it's like you keep to yourself. You don't have to really interact with your neighbor. You don't have to really interact with anybody.
I would counter that actually.
Okay.
I would counter that because I think that in the suburbs, like if you don't do those things, then you look weird. Then in certain aspects, not that you have to be buddy, but like but if you're not waving to your neighbors at some point during the week, it's questionable.
Yeah, but in the city, you're gonna get your house robbed. Possibly.
No, I know, but that's the difference.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Like in the suburbs, there's an etiquette. Go back to the etiquette.
Yes.
Waving to
what
I'm saying is like in the city, I'm just thinking of when I used to go to Columbia.
Oh no, you can't.
The red line.
Yeah.
I'm forced to interact with people. I'm not getting in my car. I don't have this little. I have to interact with the person when I get on the train. I have to interact with the people that's on the train.
I
have to
interact
with
the way of life.
The way that you're moving, you have to interact
You're definitely more
with people.
isolated. I definitely agree.
You know what I'm saying? In the suburbs, there's an etiquette where you should.
Yeah, but you don't have to. But the thing about what I wanted to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What you saying?
I was gonna say, would you say there's an etiquette to being in the other side of things, like aside from the suburbs? Would you say that there's an etiquette to being in those urban and city areas?
Yeah, don't stand too close to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like,
right?
But there's still
also an etiquette where if you, like you said, I don't know why I was just sliding towards maybe just super impoverished neighborhoods or something, but I come from from different areas. So when you think about your neighbors, well, you better say something to somebody. You know what I'm saying? You don't get the luxury of going too long without saying something to somebody.
Yeah, you can't be stuck up like that.
You can be stuck up and not talk to your neighbor real talk.
They may not like
had neighbors where I've lived and I ain't talked to them for 4 years. That was nothing.
Like,
I think we are all that neighbor.
I'm that neighbor. Like, don't talk
mind my business.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so serious, and I get irritated when like a neighbor tries to neighbor. Don't do that. I don't know you. Like, I get annoyed.
Yep.
Go in your house. I'm gonna go in my house because I don't want to have to deal. I don't want to have to deal.
I'm like that too, and I came from a suburban lifestyle, so I don't know what that says really.
And one of the cons on this is because we talk about it, but here's the funny part: it really only affects foundational Black Americans. Okay. That's the average. Would you agree with us, Wordsmith? If you want to chime in,
I want you to elaborate on that. Why you say it really only affects foundational Black Americans?
The reason why is because we really put ourselves in a position where, like you said, if you're in the suburbs too long, if you're isolated too long, then you also are not sharpening up your skills. You're not sharpening up your ability to handle the rest of the real world.
Oh, okay.
You're in this bubble. You're in a community.
Yeah.
So you really, and you also are not forced to have to stick together. Because like we just explained, even we're not just saying the neighbor got to be another color. It could be your black neighbor in the suburbs. You ain't got to say shit to him. You know what I mean? You could completely, you know.
I agree, but I'm gonna counter, or I'm gonna add something to it because I don't believe that it just affects foundational black people. Like for me, I see it affecting like the teenage white kids or like the teenage, like I look at it in a different way because that's what I see when I think of, because even when you're a foundational black, regardless if you grew up in the suburbs, you still have the understanding of the black struggle in some type of way, whether you have a suburb version or whether you have a city version. So there's still some type of like trauma or something associated with it. When I see like kids that act like they're from the streets and they're not, like prime example, we went to go play pool yesterday. I guess me and my boyfriend looked like drug dealers or something because everyone was just walking up to us like being over nice. But mind you, where I stay, it ain't too many of us that look, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but everyone, I mean, just, and oh, where you from? And I'm from the city. Like they started acting real tough, and we're like, he's from St. Louis, okay? Like, wait, what are we saying right now? And oh, I'm from Griffin. Like they're, oh, what you claim? Why do we have to claim? Like this was a real. Someone approached him and asked, like, but it was just. I'm saying that to say, but they were so excited to interact. Like they were happy. It wasn't like.
I'm loving. I want to ride this wave. I know you want to chime in, but I want to ride this wave because you dead on. And back in the '90s when hip hop came out, white people made your albums go platinum. Okay. So we're still talking about the suburban person still actually kept the so-called city person alive and going.
Yeah.
It actually perpetuated that engine. Now to piggyback off of your point, those white kids or others may be a little delusional, but the reality is the minute that they choose to straighten up, they have their whiteness to go straight into what they have to go to. They don't have to. Their skill sets doesn't have to be refined.
You're saying
it's
not like 100% genuine,
and then they're gonna have a lane, and that's a ticket that you can punch. Well, it affects the foundation of Black Americans because you're getting this experience of individualism, and you don't have the luxury of being individualized. The other cultures around you aren't individualized. They're about their culture. Latinos are about Latinos. Arabics are about Arabics. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
African cultures are about the African cultures. Well, we're running around here and enjoying fake privilege because it's suburban privilege, but it's a privilege that only has a short lifespan. Because what you find out is these suburban kids that are black usually enhance the sports or the athletic departments. They usually help get funding. Football fields, you know what I mean? All types of stuff starts getting funded. D1 colleges start looking at them. But at the end of the day, these kids aren't even really designed to come back and build in their community because they never really felt the struggle. They really were part of this privilege, you know what I'm saying, feeling. So they were never effective for their people. And and then adverse effect, the individuals in the city, when they do make it and they go to the levels, not just the city, because suburban kids now, as far as athletically, have always had chances. But we're talking about mentality. We're talking about the struggle. Well, now when you get that same kid that comes from the struggle, let's say, and they become successful, well, I gotta always say old girl name because I no matter what people think of her, if you're gonna play the game, you better play it. But Brittany Renner comes into mind because if you even the dude that's so-called this, so-called that, he made it from the struggle he came, he still has dysfunctions. He still has shortcomings. He still has things that he really isn't. He still has delusions about himself. And in the end, we all have to find out how to interact with one another. It all comes to a light when you get exposed by your money, when you get exposed by what you don't have, you find the desperation in a person. So you got the two effects of the person coming from the suburbs. They get a delusional aspect of, they think that the world is going to be easy. They think it's going to be fair. They think it's going to, you can express yourself in the suburbs. You can voice your opinion. Well, the reality is that you have to have that connection with your culture or with your people.
But see, I feel like people who come from a city type, or just that type of environment, and they become successful and they come back to give to their communities, it's always underappreciated, or they get killed, or because like that's what I see. Like I know a lot of people. It's some celebrities we've seen, but I know like people personally where when you find something out, you're like, why you come back? Like, why did you come back? Or you can't, when you reach a certain level of success, you can't go hang out in the hood. Like you can't.
But they're not hanging out the right way.
But
they hanging out with Rolls Royce with.
But no, you could have centers opened up. You can have you can really be doing good in your community, and because it's such a crabs in the bucket mentality. Right. It doesn't matter. Like that's like in the grand, because like because you do have people like that come back and try to open up these great things for the city, but nobody in the city really appreciates it. Like because it's not. I don't
think they have a relationship with the people. I mean that's just my opinion. I mean when you have a relationship with the people, you get a different response. That's just because because we're talking about city mentality, meaning that when a lot of these people are scarred, man. I'm talking about no dad, went through some things,
Something
went through some kind of trauma. So I mean, just to make my real quick point, like a lot of kids like that are angry. They're angry at their community because, like you said, to get out them spots, you don't have to say fuck you to a lot of people. You don't have to overcome a lot of stuff. So by the time you get out of it, you feel some kind of way. You know what I'm saying? Like you really feel some kind of way. You feel like, when I leave from here. So it's still it's a lot of wounds and a lot of scars that aren't healed. You understand what I'm saying? When it comes to making it out those environments, you know what I mean? And when those kids get there, when a person come out that environment, it's just like you feel like a reprieve, and it's just like because of that, because of the struggle, and because like you said, that crab in the bucket is a lot of war wounds to make it out of that environment. And when you get out of it, you feel some kind of way. You feel you funny at it.
I don't think that's like I think some people may feel like that, but I feel like a lot of times there's a guilt when people do make it out the hood. Like I see a lot of times like people who become super successful and their homies did, or their families did.
That's survivor's guilt.
It's a guilt that I see be associated. So they want to come back. They want to take everybody out. They want to do things for the community, throw block parties, do this and do that. But those are the same ones that get gunned down by somebody else who is just jealous of the fact that this person was just on their job, like and made it out. Like this has like that's what I mean when I say a crabs in the bucket mentality. Where like in the suburbs, it's more politics, but like no one's gonna take it that far.
But the bottom line is it's even worse in the suburbs, because in the suburbs no one's gonna stop you. Like no one's gonna actually, like in the suburbs we're in, it's not, the blacks don't build out in the suburbs like that. No one's gonna stop the blacks from building these schools, from building these things. We just are enjoying what somebody else built. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's like a whole different.
This reminds me of the movie Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee joint. Shout out. Classic. It's a really good classic hood film, and this
not hood.
Yeah, I'm about to say it's a socio-political film.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because it was based in college.
We call them hood classics.
Okay,
that's what we call
them. That's fair.
We call them hood classics. I get this from Prim's cinema.
An urban classic.
Cinema. It's a great podcast. He goes over all these films and he kind of breaks down. It's kind of funny, but that's not the point. The reason I brought this up is because I was thinking about when Radio Raheem got killed and how the
wrong movie, shorty.
No, she did say Do the Right Thing. You were thinking of because you said college. You were thinking about what movie were you thinking of? Yeah.
I was wrong. Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking of School Days.
Yeah, School Days. Yeah, she said Do the Right Thing.
Sir. I'm not talking about no School Days, but
Big Brother Almighty.
This point, the reason I brought the movie up is because it really, when Radio Raheem got killed, the way that the community had responded and the way that everyone had to interact with each other is kind of like what the conversation I think we're having like reminded me of. Like we're talking about how people like interact with each other and how the products of your community and what you've been through and how you had to survive in that lifestyle and community, how it affects you. Because in the very beginning of the movie, I mean, he was kind of neutral. The main character, Spike Lee, he was neutral, but he knows how to move in his community, right? There's a certain etiquette, and everyone else knows the etiquette too. Once you start crossing those boundaries, then with the way that you interact with each other, that's where that I'd like to take the point of view making of that disenfranchisement and that hurt and that trauma comes in, because now your actions are rooted in that trauma and what you had to do for survival. And I can't obviously speak from like a personal standpoint, but that's what this conversation reminds me of, and it brings up the point and of how Lana was saying, even the good people who make it out and want to do great things, like their own people from where they come from don't want to see that shit happen or want to be the person, and that comes from that hurt and like how you were saying.
I'm glad you brought up what Lana just said, because I was going to bring up what Lana just said too, is that the unfortunate part about the individuals that make it out, here's the complexity. They have experienced things. Not only were they unique enough to make it out of their situation, they went on to experience things. Now, upon that experience, it evolved them, but they lost touch with reality. In a lot of cases, where they came from, meaning that you came from a jungle. You want to come back and go pet something that you wouldn't pet. That if you were still in there, you wouldn't pet that.
Is that why you said they didn't have, these people also don't have relationships with their community?
Yeah,
I'm trying to connect the dots here.
Yeah, when you go on to have these other experiences, that experience grows your world. Your mind can only go where it's been, like we say. So their mind is so expanded that they lose touch to a degree with what they're walking back into, because of what they're filled with and how they see things, and because they also have power, they also have clout. So they taking that power, that clout, and they're not judging, they're not analyzing that environment properly. You know what I'm saying? They're giving us like they're from a
different perspective now. So
they're not diagnosing that environment. These environments, they coming back and they saying, well, I got clout. Hey, in that same environment, that dude knew that if he was on the bottom, he don't give a fuck who coming over there with clout. Those environments may let you know that, man, your clout don't do nothing over here. Or if it do, what can I get out you? And if you're not coming back with that mentality, you know what I'm saying? Then you're not. Then you're kind of displaced. And I think a lot of people are displaced. And some ain't got time for that. You know what I'm saying, Rosie?
Yeah. We're about halfway through the show here. There's a lot of great points that are being brought up. A few things that I'm thinking about, especially to your last point, as it relates to foundational Black Americans. Like, we have that added pressure of you better rep where you from. You better rep where you from. And if you don't rep where you from when you leave, then you labeled sell out, whatever the case may be. Yep. But you don't really hear about other groups having that pressure of continuously repping where you from while you're there, and then when you leave, you better carry the flag with you as well too. People do it, but I don't feel like it's as much. It's not incumbent upon them as much to do so.
Puerto Ricans.
Oh, okay.
Oh no. If you don't rep Puerto Rican, and you're from Puerto Rico, or you're from New York, or you're a Puerto Rican community, they're very, very, because it's based on pride.
I mean, repping the neighborhood. I mean, the neighborhood, not the race, the neighborhood. The neighborhood. Yeah, the actual hood you're from. And another thing to your point too about, with hip hop and how the suburban folks are the ones that are really driving the sales of the music and making the culture much more broad. I think it's because it's similar just to entertainment. People in the suburbs, they get to live vicariously through people living in those urban areas, and they can jump in and jump out. And that's the exciting thing about it. I can live it through there, but I don't have to really live it. You know what I'm saying? And that privilege. And that's always been interesting to me to be able to do that. But that's what we do when we're watching movies. We live vicariously through the characters in the movies and stuff like that. And then we're able to walk out the movie theater and go about living our lives like we normally have been. And we don't have to worry about getting shot at or anything like that. The other thing that's happening that's been interesting is I believe that these lines are starting to become blurred as it relates to suburban versus city incidents as it relates to crime. The shooting at Oak Brook Mall a couple months ago. I was like, everybody, oh my God, it was a shooting at Oak Brook Mall. Somebody shot, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but it was by the city though.
Huh?
But it was by the city.
What do you mean by the city?
It was by out west. It was like 12 minutes from out west, west side of Chicago.
True, but it's Oak Brook Mall. and things like that
Out
don't
here,
happen.
it's considered Oak Brook Mall, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm saying
it's
out
still
there,
classified
for
as
those
Right.
people that's 12 minutes
crazy.
away, that's
Yeah.
a lick.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's called a lick. For us,
Yeah.
it's Oak Brook Mall.
Right.
But so it kind of,
Exactly.
you know.
But these lines are getting blurry, in my opinion, because
that you see how the lines just got blurred.
yeah. That shows it. Like, cause the people who live in Oak Brook and Naperville who shop at Oak Brook Mall are like, oh my gosh, there was a shooting at our
But
mall.
you're like, oh, that's
You know what I'm
12
saying?
minutes away.
Yeah, it's 12
from-
minutes away from the city, so
from
you might as well
west
call it the
side.
city. No, that's Oak Brook.
Right.
I feel like
They don't. You're not supposed to be shooting at Oak Brook Mall.
I feel like we just have the media has an infatuation about what type of epidemics that they want to talk about because the truth is like the suburbs has a pill epidemic, been having a pill epidemic.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Oh,
been
yeah.
having like
An opium epidemic,
a
really
opium
bad
epidemic,
out
Yeah.
this
but
way.
mind you, like
That's the new
but
crack.
you don't hear about it. But like when you live in these, the only way you would find out is if you lived in these neighborhoods and you start talking to people, and this is why you should talk to your neighbors. But when you start talking to people, just seeing what's going on, because I feel like I've had that where I've lived in the hood, you know what I'm saying, and I know the crime that's associated with there because if you don't hear about it, you're gonna read about it. Like, you know, it's consistently broadcasted. So you think, oh, I'm gonna move to these neighborhoods and, you know, I'm not gonna experience anything. But then in the reality, we're just more quiet with it. But where I stay at, I didn't even know that somebody was busting out all the car windows, just randomly going to people's driveways and busting out their car windows and stealing whatever in their car. What we pay, that's not supposed to be happening.
Right.
But I have yet to see it in the paper, and it's like 15 cars and counting. So why are we not talking about, you know, like?
Well, part of that is part of. I mean,
I would say that's and coming from a personal standpoint too, like that's the thing about being in the suburbs, like how she was saying, like the issues that like are faced are the things that aren't talked about. Because in that culture also, if you go back to that community after you do whatever you do, you still may not be accepted. I think that was a point that I wanted to bring up before Wordsmith was giving his dialogue on the situation, was that that's something that they share. Like if this was a Venn diagram, that would be something in the middle where it's like the way that the community is gonna treat you when you come back is kind of similar. It's not the same. I can't say it's the same, and like obviously it's completely different. But like,
Right.
do you get what I'm trying to say? As far as like things aren't gonna get talked about, issues aren't going to get solved just because, and that privilege keeps you from worrying about it, and it keeps your mentality. And that's where I wanted to bring this to, is like the way that those kinds of things affect the person's mentality in that environment is also very traumatizing as well. Just like how those physical or real things you would have to face in the city on a day-to-day basis, like just normal basis things that you guys have shared from your experiences, like within the suburbs, the mentality and the trauma is like how she was saying, because those things aren't talked about and issues don't get solved, and there is a privilege. So if a certain situation happens, it's really not gonna go it's not really gonna end as far as it being just.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
it'll be unjust situations.
me and
It'll
my
be
little sister,
unresolved. Yeah.
Two completely different childhoods, right? She grew up in a super, like, the suburb of suburbs, right? Like, I was the exact opposite. So I always assumed that she didn't go through anything. And it sounds like, but it's true. I just, because it was like, girl, you know, whatever. And then one day we was talking about just her high school experiences right when she graduated. And she said, man, I just had another friend die. And I was like, another friend? Like, what do you mean another? Like, you guys just graduated 2 weeks ago. What are you talking about, another friend? I'm like, how many friends have you had die? And she was like, 5. I said, from what? Suicide, overdose. Like, she was naming, and I'm like,
shit, we was never
I
going to be
would never,
considered-
that
Yeah,
wasn't even
exactly.
a gunshot,
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
you know,
Talking
like,
about shot,
you're
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I said, what? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, are you okay? She was like, yeah, I mean, so then it started making me ask questions like, well, what do you mean overdosing from
What are
pills?
you going through? What do you experience
What are
out
you
there?
exposed to?
Yup.
Because I had this naiveness believing that
She didn't really go through shit.
or there weren't dangers out there
Or
in these
obstacles.
in this neighborhood, but in reality it's
There
a
weren't
different-
traumas affecting her and the community the same way.
exactly
Yeah.
like even with my kids, like the things that my kids get in trouble for. I just feel like this would never happen if we lived in, like, when I hear what like these little girls are talking about, it's like, what? It messes with me, because it's like, am I doing the right thing by having you guys out here? Because in reality, I don't even know what you're gonna experience because I didn't have that.
I think that, like, kind of like to kind of bring some of this together. I think that based on, like Moody says, the environment, and like you were talking, Lana, based on the different types of individuals, what's going on is that there's a arena that reminds you of segregation and oppression. There's just an arena that constantly, it's like a headache where it's constantly throbbing. So you're always trying to look on how to ease that pain, And then there's another arena that is not having that constant throb. It's actually opposite. It's allowing you to go to the refrigerator and grab anything that you want to eat, as opposed to going to the refrigerator and you barely have enough to, you don't get what you want.
You can't indulge, and then the other there's an overindulgence. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the overindulgence in the suburban part of it is that you get to overindulge in yourself, because it goes back to self. In the other community, you're constantly reminded that there's a group of you that's going through something. So that's what gives that, like you said, that love, and want to come back and build a bowling alley or whatever you want to do for the people. Well, as opposed to the suburbs, there's a lot of successful people that are in the suburbs that are black and foundational black Americans. The issue I'm talking that makes corporate money $200,000, $300,000 a year, that have corporate positions, but none of them, if you put all of them together, like even the community that I'm in, if you put all 10,000 of the foundational black Americans together, you still really couldn't get anything powerful as far as a platform, or as far as a system.
And that's because of the mentality?
Well, because the ability to be individualized. Like
Gotcha.
like Lana said earlier, you can just be in your home and have your job.
Yeah.
And you don't have to get a reminder of oppression or segregation or anything.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You don't have to say black pride. Like, I don't have to discuss that. I could talk about how I'm diverse. Well, how are you diverse when I don't know what you're bringing to the table? You're bringing what to the table? Everybody has the American culture, so we know that, because America's anti-culture. So we already know that we all have the American culture. To be diverse, what else are you bringing to the table?
Right.
So when that foundational black Americans consume the suburban life, it's kind of like consuming privilege. But what you think you're getting, what you're paying for the privilege, and what you're getting back doesn't add up. So I believe that becoming individualized, becoming isolated, feeling like you don't need to really be involved with other black actions or activities that's outside of your suburban community, to feel like to have the luxury of not caring about that, it's only going to go so far to when you wake up and understand that you are only a part of a community that somebody else built. Ultimately, meaning that you're really just getting privileges from a community that you didn't build. And I think blacks especially forget that. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of one of those frictions where white people do get to kind of have a certain offense to that, like, hey, well, when was the last time was you at the village board meeting? You know what I mean? Like, come on, like, you put in no work at all regarding to some of the community projects, some of the theater projects. When are the black people are putting in their time? We busy, but we're not really busy being a culture. You know what I'm saying? So you'd be like, well, and you're in a community that allows you to get these privileges. So you'd be saying, like, well, what are you busy doing?
I will say something that is a con, because like how we said in the beginning, we'll be talking about the pros and cons of the different, aspects of things. I will say that as a con, and speaking particularly about the black community, as far as like suburbia and how that affects the black kids and families, I feel like that is something that also we don't recognize as much, because we're so focused on those traumas of our people generally, but we're not focusing on like the black family that grew up in the suburbs and raised their kids there, and how they turned out, and where those suicides are coming from, or where those
because you know why? Not to kind of open it up for what you're saying, because a lot of those black families run from the city. like and like for instance, Chicago. We're talking about New York before. In Chicago, New York, to survive or to enhance yourself or to evolve, you get embraced with your culture because they have boroughs and they have cultures. They got Jewish communities, they got Italian communities, they got Latin communities, they got Dominican communities. In Chicago, it's opposite. You have to actually leave your hood to go chase success. That's how it's, because it's a segregated state. It's a sundown town. So in Chicago, our thing is a little different than as opposed to New York. We have to actually leave our community, you know what I mean, to show our level of success. So a lot of those people have left the city, come here, you know what I'm saying, after kind of leaving the city. So it's kind of, a lot of people have wiped their hands and said, I made it now. It's kind of like the Jeffersons. A lot of people a lot of foundational blacks come to the suburbs and feel like I made it. I don't really, I ain't got, I'm living a better life. And the reality is you're living a life that a lot of white people have built in a community. You know what I'm saying? As far as how the structures and how the things go, and it's there, and we're fortunate to be able to take advantage of the opportunities in the community like that. But you're not taking full advantage. Like when we want to really kind of wrap up the mentality and the adverse and the pros and cons for the foundational Black Americans, we're not taking advantage of these suburban communities. If we're going to continue this all over the world, this is all over the country. I mean, New York, LA, all the spots that got these boroughs with blacks and these niche neighborhoods and these plush little areas, it don't mean shit if you aren't taking time to start building anything or building infrastructures in those communities. Because when you build in those communities, you give examples for the city communities. You give examples for the city individuals that do not have the resource to see diversity. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the resource to go through certain curriculars or syllabuses in certain schools that you're going to learn, or certain classes or certain things that they're going to teach. You're not going to get that. But when you have the groups or you have the individuals that are in these suburban communities, all the D1 athletes from my community, I'm sure we've had over 150 to 200 Division I athletes that come out of my community that I'm in around here. Well, that's a lot of knowledge. That's a lot of education. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of positioning. But if you're not going to take that and do anything with it, I think that's the saddest case. I think that's the saddest case about the suburban mentality. And I think that for the city mentality, I think it's the saddest case when you don't stop and recognize the terror and the tyranny when it comes to the black on black crime, because there are all kinds of crime, but they're white on white, there's every kind. But I am particularly talking about our black on black crime, our spoiled nature, the fact that the young black male needs more attention than almost the young black female, or the male now needs more attention. I think that not taking the time to recognize your trauma, not taking the time to recognize that you had disenfranchisement, or that you couldn't have the things that you wanted. Really taking the time to realize that you are what you are. I think that's the responsibility, even if you're in a hood, is that you got to sit there and have some sense of pride that you affect the same person that's in the suburbs. When somebody in the hood do something and it's egregious, or they do something that's vile, and someone in the suburbs that works in the suburbs, a white man, maybe have a job that he works in the city, and he works with black people in the city, well, he's gonna feel a certain way. You're gonna affect the way he feels about things. You're gonna affect the person that's going to get a job behind you on how you treat it. And there was this article that we saw on Instagram where this black lady wrote how she was going into her parking spot, and the white guy, there was a white guy that was going into the spot.
He bum rushed into her spot. And then he flicked her off and called her the N-word.
Nigger. Well, he had to go into his interview, and she was the one that had to interview him.
She was the owner of the business.
It was a true story. Yeah. She was the owner of the business. You know what I mean?
Got him.
Yeah. So so it was so you never know who you're. The point is that black people, even in the city, got to understand that they affect black people in the suburbs. Black people in the suburbs affect black people in the city, foundational blacks. Now, when we talk about overall mentality, the white community, the Arabic community, the other communities, they are still going to be they're going to have a slight effect as far as taking advantage in the communities that they're in, and looking at the communities that they come from. They tend to invest in the communities that they come from. You know what I'm saying? And open up the opportunities that they have for their community. again, the foundation of Black Americans run to the community and they pulled the ladder out the window, off the window. You know what I'm saying? They run out the building and lock, so I thought it was a great dialogue, related to the mentalities, because those are the things that we're really dealing with, because we know that Black people have a certain level of influence in our cultures. Music, entertainment, sports, a lot of factors. So we want to talk about where these mentalities come from. And I have to agree with y'all. A lot of suburban and urban mentalities now have merged to really an American culture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's still that gap that's there, but I do have to agree that gap is slowly closing. Like, you know what I mean? You go to the city, you go to the, it's starting to really mesh together now. I would have to,
some blurred lines.
I would have to say that it's blurred lines now.
You'll find a goth girl in the hood.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
but that wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't remember having a goth girl.
Yeah. You're gonna find skaters in the hood.
Yeah.
You're gonna. It's just like such a different world now.
Which is dope to me.
I think a lot of that too is with technology as well too. People can see.
You
can see what's going on in the hood. You can see what's going on in the suburbs from the comfort of your own home.
Yeah,
you ain't gotta go out and be in the mix to actually see it with your own two eyes.
Or
that way live.
It yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
Say, you know what, I like that. I want to try that.
Yeah. Yep.
So man, this was a great show. How we looking for time, Ruben? We wrapping it up? 50 minutes. Yeah. That's so I did want to pass some conversation off to Wordsmith.
Yeah, there's a couple things I want to talk about, especially here at Galleria d'Arte. We're introducing a brand new concept to our patrons: the ability to enjoy the space while eating whatever you want. So you'll be able to order from your favorite restaurants via Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub, and get down with that food.
So I can order scrimp.
During our live events.
I can order lobster.
Yeah,
or I can order McDonald's.
Exactly. You may see lobster here and a Big Mac next to with the person next to them. So that's a really exciting new concept that we have here at the gallery. And then we're kind of tweaking a little bit the scheduling. So Fridays are going to be sipping socials with wine, beer, and art. And then Saturdays is going to be Art of Noise Lounge, featuring a variety of events. We may have some comedy. It may
live
be
entertainment.
Yeah, live entertainment. Yep, it may be some comedy, maybe something else. Live musician, whatever the case may be. So
that's dope. That's dope. We're really excited to have that going on at the gallery.
Yeah, and then of course on Sundays, as always, Fibonacci Live with our new time, 6-ish as we call it.
Yeah. Oh, what about next Sunday?
Next Sunday we will be filming a little earlier. We'll be a little earlier because of the Super Bowl. Come out. We will, after our show, we will have food and wine, beer. We'll have the Super Bowl going. It's going to be a nice little crowd, nice little atmosphere. So check us out. Is there anything else, Lana, that you wanted to add? Is anything going on in Lana's world that you want to share with anyone? Come on now, you always got something. It's whether you want to share it now or not. Y'all, Lana always got something going on. Check her out. Follow her on her Instagram. She be popping.
I've been meaning to ask her, how does it feel to have that many followers?
And how does it feel to have
put on the spot.
So brown?
Whoa!
Like,
wow!
She done got, you know what I mean? That little tan kicking in, like she in here. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know. I start feeling like, I don't know. She crossing over to Carmel, to the Carmel crew. I don't know.
Carmel crew.
I don't know. Moody, what about you?
Wait till March. I'm gonna be.
Oh boy, oh boy. Moody, what about you? How did you? How was your? What's your what's capping? You got any what's capping?
What's capping?
You gotta give us some what's capping.
What's capping is people who, here's something that I think is cap. When you pretend to be a grown adult and have you're like, well, I have an apartment, I am an adult. Like, that's what's capping. Just because you have certain things does not make you an adult. And just because you say that you're grown doesn't make you grown. And just because you act a certain way, like, I don't really think adulthood has like a defined definition. We can say that obviously you need to be responsible. Obviously you need to, have discipline and, want to be a better person and evolve. But what's capping is when you just think that you're an adult because you have a dog and a house and what you can do what you
do a
want
whole
with
show
money.
on that.
Yeah.
I agree.
So-
I
Yeah.
definitely
So
agree.
I mean, what
That's
do you mean,
what's
Lon?
happening.
Like.
I feel
expand on
like
that.
being an adult is a mentality. Like I've met some immature 40-year-olds. Like
100%.
so I just I have.
So you
but
have the
material things do not make you or define.
adult.
No,
Yeah.
because this just
Wow,
means
that's
that
a
you
good
have
one.
acquired these things. Like
Yeah.
that's.
Or just because you've had hardships and like you've gone through those hardships and struggles and you're surviving and you're continuing to do what we're all trying to do does not make you more an adult or an adult. Like,
No,
you know what I'm
like,
saying?
my thing is like it's all like what did you do after that happened? Because if you're still talking about the same trauma that was 20 years later, and you haven't grown from said trauma, and you had 20 years to analyze
Not growing,
it,
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. If you haven't
Right.
Evolving
It's
is part
just-
of adulthood.
that is a part of adulthood.
If you cannot evolve or progress, then like
Or
that.
like, have you ever
you
like
know.
seen somebody that you haven't seen in years, and you realize like there's just such a disconnect because like they
Yes,
act the same.
because
Like,
they're at the same
wow,
place
you
that you
literally
left
act-
them.
You act the same
You
way
still
you
Yeah.
act
school.
like you was
that is
freshman year in
crazy.
Miss Nunez class.
Yes, like you
still-
are the
you
same
still-
person.
You still
like, and
you
I
still
don't even know
like
how
bro,
to-
you still the same one that was in
Right.
Miss Shanowski's class, bro. You still act just like
And
dude.
it's like you don't even know how to
Sanowski.
talk. Like, I don't even know how to converse with you at this point. This is very interesting.
Yeah, that's what's capping. Cause I just feel
so
like
what's Cappy basically
it's an epidemic amongst all ages,
I
you
agree.
know.
I'm
But
grown now.
yeah, you
Okay.
know,
Great.
I think
Bro
that
Smith, what any social commentary? I think I know I want something to talk about. I wanted to put in what's capping. Moody decided that she didn't want to carry the mantle on this topic.
It's
but
not my
but I
topic
wanted
for
to.
what's
It's not her
capping.
topic. It's my inquiry. Did you see the Kevin Samuels?
Highlights. I saw highlights. I didn't watch the whole thing.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so-
Go ahead and talk about
So
it. Though.
okay,
3 minutes.
We got 3 minutes. Here, okay, and I gotta
hot.
put this out there.
Be
Like,
careful.
Okay, I gotta be accurate.
Be
Which
accurate.
is
You
what
should be.
So that's what's going down. Kevin Samuels gave the 1 to 10 rating on Nicki Minaj. She called into the show, and Wordsmith. I was talking to Moody about it, and I didn't talk to Lana much about it, but I talked to Lana a little bit about it, and I felt like Kevin Samuels backpedaled. I felt like. Based on how he treated the other individuals or ratings that under his standards, and we're not talking about her position in her life and that she's married and that she married somebody
That she's
makes
a boss.
less, or that she married somebody that makes less money, and maybe she chose to pick a blue collar Henry or chose to kind of have more character. Fuck all of that. I'm talking about based on the standards of sexual marketplace and natural beauty. How the fuck is Nicki Minaj a 9? How did she become a 9? Wordsmith, you don't have to chime in, but I'm telling you, I think that's an issue for me. Is I think Kevin Samuels is right and exact on most of his statistics, most of what he analyzes in the dysfunctions in the black community. He's exact and accurate on our solutions. Now, what he deems to be more important than the other sometimes that shifts. That's subjective to me, and what he grates the standards on.
You
is
mad
subjective.
I think
that
I
Nicki
think that-
Minaj's nose is not her nose and he gave her
No,
a
I'm
9.
mad that
Let's
she
be
called-
real.
I'm
Let's
mad
be
that she
real.
called- I'm
Have
mad
you
that she
seen
called her
Anaconda?
a boss.
Stop.
I'm mad that she looked at him and said, "I'm a boss." Now what?
I think that what Kevin Samuels did was he recognized who he had on his show that was the biggest star he's ever been able to have on his show. And
Clout.
he decided to use a sliding scale
Clout.
in this particular instance to make sure that he did not he decided to use a sliding scale because he probably figured that was the best thing to do for his career.
Wait, what does
big
Kevin
picture.
Samuels think his rating is?
His
What's
career
his
big
rating?
picture. He was looking at his career
Well,
big
you
picture.
haven't said a damn thing.
So-
we
so-
have like 50 seconds
So I
left.
think
Go.
I think he was purposefully gave her
I'm
lip service
observing.
because he thought that was gonna be much more beneficial to him than keeping
Man,
it
so
real.
in Chicago, we call that buddy hustling.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically,
Yeah.
you buddy
Wait, I
hustling.
want to hear what Lana
Yeah.
has to
Hey,
say.
have you heard how hard the barbs go? If you would have gave her a 6, the barbs would have shut him down.
Did
That's the
I
whole.
not
What's
say-
barbs?
I told you. I told you.
I'm gonna stop right there.
Even-
I'm gonna stop right there.
Even Wordsmith knows.
Let
I
him call her a
told
6.
you.
They would have shut his YouTube down.
Go
They
ahead, Lana.
would have spammed them.
Let Lana
spammed the
chime
YouTube.
in.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done. Go ahead.
Lana, you be saying, make it make sense. Lana, can you make it make sense? That she a 9.
I think that Nicki Minaj is extremely intelligent and she's very quick, and people don't realize how quick she is. So I feel like if Kevin honestly would have tried to go that route, Nicki would have been one to actually keep up. So I feel like he purposely did not. And the thing is, because she could out drama him. Like if you ever watch Nicki Minaj's podcast when she does playing radio, like Nicki not know
interviews.
She could take it over. She could eat your
take
lies,
everything.
spit you out, use your own logic against you. So I don't think
she could have done that with Kevin Samuels at all.
Okay.
One girl did with Kevin Samuels.
Yeah, I do.
The reason why is because here's why she can't. It's his scale. She said, okay, you judge me. Anytime you step into my arena, he has the advantage.
But she obviously had a leverage that he coveted. So when she said, you judge me, she
said, I'm a 7. She told the Vic, I'm a 7. So she already conceded to him. So he a lame if he gonna sit there.
You're calling him a simp for giving her a 9 because she said 7.
But that was the whole point. That was her whole point. When I go back to saying like, Nicki, I don't feel like Kevin could aspire with Nicki. No, because
you just said I think it's her presence.
The whole way
I don't think it's even her talking. But it wasn't even her talking. It was her presence.
But the fact that she said she was a 7, she already set up the scale for herself.
This man on her
without doing anything.
You said this his platform.
No, I agree.
So what I'm saying is, if he tried to take it there, he conceded. You talking about she conceded? He conceded.
No, she conceded
Kevin
first.
I understand that. What I'm saying is, but who she gave up the war? Who lost the battle?
No, that's what
so what I'm saying is, in reality, she beat him to his own game. Like, oh, I'm a 7. No, you're a 9. No, I'm a 7.
Hail the queen. A special shout out to our Fibonacci Radio and Galleria de Arte. I'm not shutting it down, but I just want to get this in there. Galleria de Arte team, Rhonda, Z, Terrence, Ruben, our artist Manny and Esteban, and our brand ambassadors, Kels, Michelle, Jay, and Prolific Lee.
Yeah, man, we about to wrap it up, but I really don't. I do agree with you guys for the most part. I don't think Nicki Minaj. I think Nicki Minaj came very carefully because Kevin Samuels eat people alive. I don't think her dialogue and her being able to keep up with him, because she wasn't always keeping up. She was there to make her point, and she heard him. She got to kind of learn a little bit about him, but she didn't do research because she didn't even approach it right. She was like, no, I judge people, I usually go off my scale. So she was really transparent. That's what I like. That's why, like I said, Brittany Renner winning right now. I still
don't know who she is.
Good. The reason why I like to mention her is because even Kevin Savage had her on her show is because we doing this on like I said, this last bit of commentary of trying to figure out why would you say some of the things that you say about even a Brittany Renner, and Brittany Renner is standing on the fact that winning is winning. If I can go out there and hunt and find a simp, then that's what I'm able to do. If Nicki Minaj is able to go out there and hunt and go see somebody that's getting 500,000 views every 2 days and treat that Vic and make him basically backpedal on everything, then that's her job. Her job was to go in there and break dude. She did it. Kudos to Nicki Minaj. Go in there and tell that mom you a boss. Tell her all your followers to be bosses and barbs, and tell dude to move around. You a 9. You got all the things he said he don't like. Your makeup on. You might have some facial work did. You might have a booty. All that unnatural. You still was a baddie, and he called you a 9. You walked out being a 9. So kudos to Nicki Minaj. But Kevin Samuels, you gonna have to clean that shit up. And you gonna have to do it on Clubhouse or call Fibonacci. Call Fibonacci live. Email us, and we can sit there and have a communication about that, whether you like it or not. That shit was whack. And whether we I think that was really, I think that was disingenuous.
Not him coming for Kevin, like.
No, I'm not even coming for Kevin. I'm not. I'm coming for he's a man of principles. He's a man of principles. It's the fact that
you're holding him accountable.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah. He holding everybody else accountable. Every time you go out there and somebody have a baby by a nigga that beat up broads, he gonna say, well, you shouldn't have had the baby by him and, go get buked and stay with your man. Like, this is some of the girls, these are some of the answers they get to deal with. You know what I mean? I'm not just being, I'm exaggerating.
But it's also a position of power, and in those instances, he viewed himself as having more power or having that higher leverage. Like with Nikki, obviously he did not feel that way. So to me, it's like, okay, so he's made.
So is it principle? Then it's no longer principle anymore. It's not based on power now.
That's exactly what it's based on.
That means his philosophy is based on power.
It's based on
and not principle. When he say a man get options, that's based on power.
Yeah.
It's not like Sister Sherazade Ali. Hers is based on principles of men. His is based on power. So with that note, I ain't coming at nobody, but I mean,
it shouldn't matter who they are.
Because I've advocated,
how you feel.
and I've advocated him. I've advocated him, so I get to say something about him. I don't got to be part of your crew and sign up with your shit, your subscription. I advocate you. You are definitely for the black families, and I want him to continue to do what he's doing. He has a nucleus and a formula that's right and exact, but how he continues to have his subjective point of views and smudge the standards in his own name, we ain't on that in the shack. So we here on Fibonacci Live. We're closing it out with Wordsmith, Lana, Moody here with Alchemist. Thank you to the crew. Deuces. Check out the gallery, thegallerydearte.com. Check out our events. Go on FibonacciRadio.com. Check out our episodes on our 106.3 episodes. We will be returning in March. Deuces.
Bye.
Peace. No, I think that shit was whack with Kevin.